Today, we're honored to welcome Wes Towers to the show. I'm very excited about this. He has an amazing story that I believe can help a lot of people, especially in the entrepreneurship space. Like a lot of people, we kind of sometimes we sacrifice our health and we just build the wealth. But what I like to talk about is we can do both. And he has a lot of entrepreneurship strategies as well. So I'm very excited to have him on the show today. How you doing, man? Doing good?
Yeah, really well. It's nice and early here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm in Geelong, just outside of Melbourne. So good to get cracking for the day and be speaking to you nice and early.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, you got an amazing story. I'm very excited to hear it from you. Like, how did you get into this place? And I understand you have a health journey as well that kind of exponentialized your business. You want to get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really did hit rock bottom about 3 years ago now. I discovered something in my marriage that wasn't something that felt was redeemable, and so the marriage broke down really quickly. So one day I was at the family house, and the next day I was sleeping at the office under the desk, and at this point in my life, everything was kind of collapsing. So whilst business felt like it was going along okay, my health was not really great. I was quite overweight. Was doing all the wrong things really. So not eating well, a whole bunch of things. So my whole physical state wasn't great. And my emotional state wasn't great. Obviously, with the strain and pressure of a breaking down marriage. But then on top of that, through the divorce separation phase, we had to get a business valuation, and that was maybe 2.5 years ago. It came a little later in the journey, and it was just as AI was kind of just making its ground and starting to show that it might transform the world and potentially my business. So the business valuer said, look, your business is not really worth all that much, not as much as what I thought it would be. So my whole person felt like it was dissolved and broken down. So I mean, at one point early on, I was on the floor crying like a baby in my office, and I realized I had a really important meeting in 5 minutes time. So my eyes were red and bloodshot, and I was really dysregulated. But I just pulled myself together and did the Zoom call, and it was actually the biggest deal the biggest client I've ever won. And I thought that was good, and it was in a way. Sometimes there's more than one thing can be true. So I was able to compartmentalize the pain and personal anguish that I was feeling and focus on the client for that 30-minute meeting. But someone said to me, hey, look, that's kind of good, but really there's some deep-seated issues that you've got to kind of resolve, because it's going to kill you otherwise. You can't live in conflict of such a high degree and think that that's going to be, sustainable. So that kind of thinking is what led me to. Firstly, I saw a psychologist who was really quite progressive, and she encouraged me to do breath work, cold plunges. I started going to the gym. Everything, just micro tweaks in a lot of different areas that built up my personal health again, and so my physical health was improving, and therefore my emotional health. And there was still turmoil going on, because divorce separation takes a while. It's a couple of years of being exposed and wrongly accused, and all sorts of different things that happen in these. It's probably common for most people who go through the same thing. So just to change some micro things in my personal life. But what happened for business was phenomenal. Business actually grew. So despite what the business valuer said, the business has never been stronger. So he suggested AI was a massive threat, which it was kind of the opposite. I flipped the script on that, so to speak, and introduced AI into the business, and it's been really powerful. We report financial years in June, so it's just passed a little while back, and best financial year ever. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
That's awesome to hear, man. Something that kind of jumped out to me is what do you call it? Compartmentalization, right? And I feel like
Yeah,
that's actually an important skill to actually learn as an entrepreneur. But of course, like we don't want to stay there, right? Like it's important to
yeah,
heal the issue, like it seems like you've done. But because like a lot of times we can't process everything in the moment, right? So being able to have the
yeah,
mission focus and get that deal done, I feel like that's important as well. I mean,
yeah. It's like most skills, it can be good or bad. I think because I had developed to be quite good in that space, I I was able to mask a lot of issues, so I didn't deal with things earlier, I think, as well. So that's the negative consequence. I mean, I was so dysregulated in on some instances. I had no memory of lots of, like, I would just totally forget full, speaking to people or where I was or what I was doing. Oftentimes, like in the really down times a few years back. So it was, that's no way to live long term, obviously. So it's great,
right.
yes, as an entrepreneur and as a business leader anything you do, it's good to be able to say, right, well, these are the things I can control right now. Let's do that. But you've got to get back and delve deeper into the more deep-seated issues and resolve those conflicts for sustainable growth, really.
Absolutely. Like having that relationship with yourself to know that it's okay if I can't do this in the moment, but know that I will heal it, right? Just knowing that you're doing the best that you can, I think that's a good way to move forward.
Yeah, it was really important to get a psychologist, but the right kind of psychologist. I think mine was really quite progressive in the breath work, and which was really interesting. So I did a session with a guy who leads it with music, a didgeridoo. We're here in Australia. It was really
Really?
quite nice music. Yeah, it's really cool. So you're doing the breath work, but I had even like kind of visions and things. It was almost a hallucinogenic kind of state, a little bit convulsing and all sorts of stuff, which
Yeah.
probably looked quite weird, but I felt like it was a real turning point to understand me, and even just the time, because you're laying there, you're not distracted by busy work or business or anything else. You're laying there, you're intentional about having a transformation. So I was really pleased. I found the right psychologists who suggested I go to some of these things, and it really did transform my personal life, help me heal, and help me grow my business. I wasn't trying to grow my business. I was just trying to be, healed and happy, and build a new life at that tipping point in my life.
I love that, man. I think it's important to like find the right person that will help us, right? Like listening to our inner guidance essentially because like you may have to find and look around for different people. Like it's great that you find the right psychologist, right? And if people don't,
Yeah,
just don't give up. Just keep on looking and find the right tools, the right
yeah,
person for you. So another thing you mentioned there,
yeah. That's right. I was kind of lucky. I knew a guy who ran a clinic, so, and he knew me pretty well. So he was able to match me up with the best person he felt was a good fit, and he was spot on. He knew me pretty well. So the lady I worked with was really quite good. She was kind of really open to spiritual aspects of. She wasn't really super clinical, I suppose. She was more holistic, which I guess I'm a little bit that way as well. I'm open to different things, and yeah, it was great. So it was here in Australia. The government will subsidise 6 sessions, and so I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I set myself a goal to be healed for the 6 sessions. Now, most people need to do these things sometimes permanently or a long time, but I set myself a mini goal that I would be fully healed and transformed in 6 weeks, 6 sessions, kind of fortnightly sessions. I didn't really reach the goal, but I think having a time frame and a timeline sort of gave me a focus to be healed. I think sometimes it can, so the sessions can feel really cathartic and so on. So I think there could be a trap just to be forever connected to the psychologist. But I think that it was for a season, and that's the way I set it up for my. But some people laughed, closer people to me laughed and said, "You're not going to be healed in 6 sessions." I wasn't, but I was a lot further along the journey. Just having sort of having intention to be healed. I think was a good thing.
I love that, man. Just having the goal and the intention, right? Because it's not always about reaching the goal necessarily. Sometimes you have to change the approach, and a lot of times just the time frame isn't always the thing, but it kind of gives us like a guideline to take action, which kind of seems like you did as well.
Yeah, and I suppose being in business, you're kind of that way. You're kind of probably a little bit driven, to achieve the end goal, get to the result. I mean, that's what I'm doing for business, day in, day out for clients and so on, and getting an outcome and so on. So, I mean, in some ways, probably the personal journey and the humanity of being a vulnerable human, a vulnerable person, helped with my the way I interact with clients as well. So I do websites and search engine optimization. I'm calling it search everywhere optimization now, but never before in history has it been more important to be really authentic person, so as a personal brand, but also as a business, because AI can just produce masses of content, but there's not necessarily there's no authenticity in that if you purely are using AI to produce your marketing material, because it's just the average of everybody else, and no one wants to be average. Everyone's unique, and they've got idiosyncrasies even, and I think these things are the things that make us human. So as personal brands, as a leader of a business, a lot of your personal brand will be influencing the company brand and the culture and everything really about the business. So I think learning to be human again and just to be vulnerable and things really helped with helping clients to communicate their own message. Obviously it's a business message, but to be really focused on the uniqueness of who they are as an individual, really.
100%, man. I mean, like you said, I think AI is a great tool, but at the same time, like the work that we do is a personal development process as well. Like we're kind of like learning about ourselves. So we're learning how we kind of like filter things through our values, right? We're actually doing the work and also becoming someone in that process. We just automate that. We're losing that. That's what I feel like a lot of people lose as well.
Yeah, 100%. So, and I mentioned what we're doing, we're calling it search everywhere optimization. Most people have heard of search engine optimization when Google was really the king. If you wanted something or you're researching something, you jump on Google and do a search. So, for example, if you had a broken light fitting, you would search electrician and then the location, electrician Melbourne. But now we understand these tools, understand the full context, so you can search a full sentence, and that's what people are starting to do. Obviously with ChatGPT, I'm often talking to my ChatGPT. Even when I'm driving around, I might have a thought. So it's like almost my brainstorming tool. Well, I'll put on hands-free and talk to it. We're all learning that these tools understand the full context of what we're saying. So when we're publishing to a website, for example, it's really back in the day, people were just writing for to get Google noticed by Google. Now we really need to know, have a clear and concise and compelling message that's communicated through what we're publishing online, simply because they understand precisely what it is. And you do need to stand out because there's just masses of information. You need a unique point of view, which is often built out of the person's personal values. So your values really are everything. To stand by your values and your convictions, and even if they're are challenged, people may disagree, but even polarizing opinions, they're fine. It's better to stand up for something and be and build a tribe around that than just be mediocre and try and be, try and be accepted by everybody. Some people are just not going to like you and your opinions, and that's totally fine.
100%, man. I love that so much. Like, I feel like personal branding plays a big role in that. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's really the full just understanding who you are as well. So you can try and create a persona, but that won't last. And it's not sustainable. And I think that's part of my own personal story. So, as I said, I felt like I had masks on and hiding. So I wasn't really showing up authentically me. And when I sort of let those masks down and so on, I felt like I could build a personal brand more powerfully because I understood myself better and my values. If we're building our personal brand on anything other than our own personal convictions and values, then there's something massively wrong. So we'll live in conflict. So if we're not centered on those things and just aligned.
Definitely. I mean, knowing your values and living by honor and integrity is so important, man. It's like, because that's even within it, like a lot of people they kind of compromise their values to try to reach a certain goal. But if you have all the things, like you're at the top, but your character is not intact, that's a loss in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is obviously you're into health and wellness. I'm just I really admire RFK and his work with what he's doing. I mean, I'm in Australia, you're in America, so a guy like that who stood up for so many things, even though like they misrepresented what he said a lot of times, or they discredited what he said a lot of times, but he just stuck at it. I mean, even if some people might agree or disagree, but he's a guy of values, He stood up for what he believes in, and now he's working towards transforming
Absolutely.
a lot of health-related things, and they're so important. And the things that the health perspectives that he has, I share his opinions as well. So obviously that helps. But even if you didn't agree with his opinions, here's a guy that is strongly value-led. I think they're the people that will stand out in the new world of AI, because if you haven't got a clear and compelling, unique point of view, well, what does your point of view even really mean?
Absolutely. I mean, how do you recommend that people start to find their values?
Yeah, well, for me, it was unfortunate that I had to hit rock bottom. I would advise people not to do that. It's not ideal. It's best to learn from other people's mistakes than to make the mistakes yourself. I think because I'm working with businesses mostly and business leaders, oftentimes who start the companies, and they're usually construction companies, trade companies, that sort of thing, would do their websites and SEO. So we're really drilling into their core message of what they want to communicate. The behind closed door conversation I'm often having with these people is, what is it that really frustrates you in your industry? What is everyone else doing wrong? What do you think? What do you think you do much better than they do? It's good when we can speak behind closed doors on those topics, because they can really unleash a whole lot of thoughts. And what frustrates you the most about something is probably the polar opposite of your values. So it's revealing, so that those negative emotions, to flip them and to focus on the flip side of what that is. It's often easier to get to the point of understanding someone's values by understanding what they don't like. Those dislikes seem to come to the top far easier than approaching it the other way around. Does that kind of make sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, I feel like also filtering your values and aligning them with growth and service is important as well, because like having them align with your purpose is key, because you can just have certain values, but they're kind of loose values. Like you don't really understand the importance of certain things. So maybe you value, I don't know, TV, right? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you want to live your best life, just no, there's like order of operations in a sense, like knowing your purpose and your values and living by that and taking the appropriate actions every single day.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, there's things that are good, there's things that are great, there's things that are in between. So, and we can't fit everything into our lives. So the more mediocre things we're fitting in, the less of the great things or even the good things we're fitting in. So once you have strong values, you can focus more on the things that matter the most.
Yeah, and like you said, having that point of view, that worldview, and something that you actually stand up for is so important, man. Because especially like in a world with so many distractions, like
Yeah.
it's important to actually find the truth and live by that. Because if you don't, like you're just not going to be on track and live your best life and ultimately be of service to your maximum capacity. That's what I find.
Yeah, 100%. It's really foundational for us as humans in an AI world, even more so, I think. So
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of entrepreneurship, I know you've talked about it a little bit, but you help people with marketing and the importance of marketing. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
yeah, sure. We're doing a lot of. Uh, I think I mentioned that we're doing search everywhere optimization. So it's about showing up on all platforms. So if people are using an AI platform to research a topic, the ideal outcome is to show up wherever they're searching, everywhere they might be searching. And the same rules and principles apply for across the board, really. All these platforms are trying to bring the very best of the information and specific information for whatever someone's researching or looking into. So so we're helping people with a lot of the content within their website. So it might be a blog. So we do website design and we market that to get as much visibility as you possibly can. So we build out the website, make it look polished and on brand, and everything's the main website pages are concise and compelling and interesting, engaging. People make the inquiry. Behind the once that's all established, we set up a blog or news. We might call it Insights, and that's a place where we can drill deeper into really specific areas of a particular business, and that's what really feeds Google search engines, but also AI. It's drawing upon that really specific information. So think about anything you publish into your website. It's written for your end readers, but also think about it as training the AI as well, because they're pulling that information, and you want your information pulled in. So people, when they're researching a particular topic for yours, it might be for wellness related specific topics. If you're publishing to your blog regularly about maybe case studies or stories or examples, anything that is information gain. So the information, what I mean by information gain is you have content that's kind of the same as everybody else, because everybody has the core basic foundational things of, in your instance, wellness. But the last 10% it might be, or it might even only be a few percent, that's really unique to you. That's the most important aspect to introduce information gain. So that little bit of information that only you can bring, and that might be personal case studies of somebody you've worked with and they've had a fantastic outcome. So a success story you can talk about and no one else can talk about because they didn't work with that person and they didn't have that exact same achievement. So that's in a wellness context. So we work mostly with construction related businesses. So we've got lots of different clients we help with the content. one of the core things we set up early on is to make sure we establish their voice. So even though we're using AI assisted content, we build in the right style guide. So everything that we produce for them is written and it sounds like them, and it's even got the specifics of what makes them unique. So we make sure we're touching on the right aspects of who they are. Now, it still needs to be proofread and edited and all that sort of stuff, but it really does help us produce quality content on brand, on message, and make sure it's not generic, because it's so risky just to produce the generic stuff. So that's what we're doing, from the search everywhere optimization, helping people publish the right message at the right frequency as well. Because, a lot of the clients could do it all themselves, but they just don't have the time. And so we help them, we come alongside and support them in that way and grow their businesses, really. That's a really key foundational aspect of business. And a lot of business, I don't know how it is for you guys, but there's a lot of businesses are struggling here in Australia. That's for sure. The cost of living, and there's a whole bunch of issues that businesses face right now. So they really do need to fight to be heard and seen, and get the clients that they need to be successful in their space.
Very cool, man. You talked about bringing something that you can bring that no one else can bring. I feel that's really important. You want to expand on that a little bit? Yeah,
sure. So just to think about one particular client. So, and we were actually struggling with this client a little bit to get the message of what he does. It was a kind of I won't say precisely what business, because I don't know what I can share about him exactly, but he was in a kind of a unique space, but we were just not grasping exactly what he did and how he did it, because it is kind of unique. It was gold once we could extract it out of him. So it's about just finding ways to get that information out of the person and into the online world so that people can grasp it and understand it, but also AI can understand it too. So for him, we by accident found a little method to do it. So we got him just to video projects he was working on as he did it. And he just described what he was doing, and he described the locations he was working in, which was great for ranking well, particularly in Google. So because people are searching for service offering in their local area. So he'd be touching on the locations. He'd be touching on the exact processes that he was following, and the goal and the achievement, what he was trying to achieve as an end result. So it became fantastic. He started to publish those on YouTube, which is great because he could send those videos to people who needed a similar circumstance. He couldn't really describe it really well other than showing them and describing it while showing them. But those videos, we could easily transcribe them into text. You can just get the transcript, and use that as a foundational for content for his blog as well. So it wasn't just a transcript copied in. It was taking those thoughts and ideas and to make it into a meaningful piece of content specific around that one issue that he was resolving in that one video, and publishing it. And his rankings went through the roof. So just the traffic started pouring in. His business grew phenomenally just from that one little strategy, and to be able to repurpose that video content into blog posts is what we were doing for him. But then off the back of that, he was able to repurpose those longer form content blog posts into social media posts as well. So he would just take snippets of the blog, really. There's a few ways you could tackle that. You could use AI to rewrite the blog post into a bunch of different posts for social. But he wasn't. He was just taking a few sentences here and there, and that's the way he felt more confident with. He took care of that side of it himself. So there's so many ways of achieving more with less time, less effort, less financial investment as well, to get the systems right that work for an individual. It's kind of like for your own personal health. It's sometimes just little incremental things you can build into your life that are sustainable, that you can do regularly, like going to the gym. You just you just put it in as it's just something you do. It's not negotiable anymore. It's just part of your life. So I think doing those things in business and in personal life are really key.
Absolutely, man. Like you just said, it's about those small wins. It's like having those success habits that you just do on automatic that gives you results. You know, it's like this compound interest effect, essentially.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, so I've got the regular things I do for my own personal. I mentioned gym to get back to the personal stuff as well. So some things I make sure I do as a habit, and other things I've got little toolkits where I feel if I feel dysregulated ever, I get back to the breath work. So I've got little tools in my trick bag to pull out that as I need when I need them. And I think that's the same with marketing as well. So sometimes you set up a frequency of publishing to your blog, for example. So you do that and you're consistent and you if it's weekly, whatever it is, publish something fresh and unique. But there might be times in business where you need an extra nudge. So that might be a time where you go, okay, well, here's a time to do an email marketing blast. So if you publish something new or an offering, you might have a regular newsletter that goes out. But you go, okay, I just need to step it up just this one time with something a little bit more promotional. So you might be feeding information most of the time, but then you've got a quiet spot in your business. So you go, okay, I need to inject a little bit more business in. So here's a particular offer. You can't go, if you've got a newsletter, you can't be just giving offer after offer every single email, because people are just going to unsubscribe. But to have some flexibility. So you need, I think in life and in business, you need consistency, but you also need flexibility. So a bit like your human body, really, isn't it?
Definitely. Just adaptability is key because we ultimately can't control the circumstances, but we control how we respond to them. And especially in the business world, it's an ever adapting terrain, right? So just having the internal fortitude and these practices that you say you do on a personal level is so important as well if you want to be a great entrepreneur, I find.
Yeah, 100%. And so there's a lot of fear and concern about what the world might look like. Even in it depends who you listen to and what jobs look like, what the workplace looks like in a couple of years as AI starts to take some jobs. We're already seeing it here in Australia. I think it was last week, one of the big banks let go of a whole bunch of people from I think it was the call center or people that answer queries on the phone or maybe online as well to chatbots. So I mean, we're in the early days of all of that. So the world is going to change, well, businesses in particular are going to change faster than ever before. So that adaptability is going to be really important, even for people not running a business, but in a career path. The career path might change. So to adapt into whatever the future looks like, it's really important. I think it's going to be challenging, but also exciting and rewarding for those that can position themselves for the changes.
100%, man. How do you recommend that we become more adaptable in our lives?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good question. I think it's important to listen to perspectives outside of our own, just to open ourselves up to new possibilities. You can sort of get in a bit of an echo chamber, especially with Facebook and social media in general. They'll start to pick up your preferences and likes and dislikes and give you that same information over and over again until eventually you feel like those opinions are yours because it's just been embedded into your own thinking. So it's almost like brainwashing. I don't think they're doing it intentionally to brainwash anyone. I think they're doing it just to keep people engaged in their platforms because that's their business model. I think it's important and wise to open yourself up to new possibilities and it just helps you keep your mind flexible, but it helps you also to understand other world views as well. I'm not saying that you would you need to, as we said, we have our own personal values and we're that they need to be solid in our lives, but it's good to understand other aspects, and by doing so you keep your mind flexible and adaptable, really.
Definitely. Like you were saying, like the power of discernment is key. Like, because listening to everyone's opinions is important. Like listening to like other people's guidance, but ultimately filtering their advice through our own values, right? Because we make the decision at the end of the day. It's having like this roundtable discussion, the power of curiosity. I feel like that's important as well because having more perspectives, like to solve a problem, that can really be useful in some situations.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thinking aspect, but sometimes the non-thinking aspect of it too. So the mindfulness and to slow down our minds as well can be really key. I think. Well, for me as well, it can be difficult sometimes just to wind down because I can be pretty driven and working really, so really focused on work. So I'll be locked into my computer and whatever it is that I'm doing. It can be at the end of the work day or whatever I'm working on. It can be difficult to slow down, but I think it's really important to have mechanisms to make space in our mind. Because it's so easy to be filled up. If you haven't got space in your mind, you're not taking the time to think things through. And sometimes there might be better ways and methods if we just took a breath and looked at things in a new light. So, yeah, I think
Definitely.
that's
Just giving
important.
yourself a space to think is so important because there's so much information, right? But just being able to sit and process that and actually, start to draw different conclusions, start to develop thoughts. I feel that's very rare, you know?
Yeah, I know. We're all bombarded. We're connected. We're always connected. With online. It's in our pocket. I was just noticing the other day. I was on the train up to the city in Melbourne, and nearly everyone at the train station or anywhere really, they were all looking at their phones. Very rare was anyone not connected to their phone. So it's it's kind of concerning in some ways that people can't not be doing something all the time. So I noticed it in other people and thought, well, that's something I've got to watch in myself as well. Am I just flicking on the phone and scrolling, doom scrolling through social media, just as almost an addiction? I think there's an addictive aspect of it that's not too healthy as well. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, just having like a powerful presence, it's kind of it kind of indicates like you're not having all these tabs open in your mind, right? You're not distracted by the tiny things. You actually focus on the task at hand, and this makes you more effective at anything that you do.
yeah, 100%. The focus is so important. It's in a world full of distractions. The focus is key. It's interesting. I was saying, I think I can't remember who it was, but someone was talking about the glasses that will be connected through AI. So that was exciting and frightening as well because have you seen it? The glasses where it's connected to AI, so it's you can see it's communicating more with you about what you're looking at. So you're not just observing what you're observing and making your own thoughts around that. It's feeding new thoughts because you're looking through it through a literal lens that's feeding you further information about things. It's kind of concerning and exciting. I mean, the technology is phenomenal, but will we forget how to switch off? It's it'll be so addictive. I think these things.
Very interesting.
Yeah, how will it rewire our brains to a degree? I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, the problem is like, are we going to use these things to become a better person, or just going to do what a lot of people do with the internet these days, and it just kind of like it's almost it's like massive distraction to where we're just taking their energy, they're not on their purpose. It's like I
Yeah,
feel like whatever we introduce, like it's always like comes down to who we are, like how is which is going to represent how we interact with that thing.
yeah, 100%. And I think in your career path, I think it's one of the most important things that we will all need moving forward, because wellness is about the human. It's about the person. It's about the individual and their needs. I think those career paths are going to be some of the most critical. Mental health, I think anything that deals with people are going to be the critical career paths that we all need in society. So, I mean, if anyone's sort of thinking about where they go with their career, I think if there's a human aspect to it, I think it's far safer than just something that's digital. We're vulnerable to the robots taking our jobs if we're just purely focused on the technology, I think.
Definitely. I mean, we need each other. I mean, that's how we evolved. It's not like, like we outsource a lot of things to technology, which is great. We have a lot of opportunities there, but we cannot lose our humanity in that.
Yeah. So one of the things I did myself, I like networking events and going to, it's the social aspect of it. I like the social aspect of it more than like the business, people handing around business cards and so on. So I'd been a part of lots of different groups with a real business focus. So you would all stand up and pitch your business and try and share referrals, which is great. But I got to a point where I just want to build relationships with people who I just want to understand them. And being in business, you naturally, your friends are other business people because you share the journey, the ups and downs, and you're kind of wired the same way. So I just set up a little networking group of my own, which was purely social, just down at the wine bar near here. And people come along and share their journeys, and we talk about all sorts of different things. And it wasn't for a business outcome, but certainly business outcomes were achieved, because once you start to know somebody, obviously you start to know what they do in their work, and if you know them, you like them, you trust them, you'll send work their way if it's your own work that you need their service for, or if it's someone you know that might need their service offering, because you've got that strong relationship. I think relationships are again, with everything happening in the world, I think strong relationships are so important for business and personal life as well.
Yeah, networking and just building solid relationships with people that you know is so important. I mean, they're perhaps the most important thing when it comes to your health. Like, just being able to have like strong bonds and actually investing in your relationships, right? Like, we talked about investing in our health, our businesses. It's the same thing with relationships, and some things you got to put in place, like just focusing on your energy and becoming the greatest version of you. Understands that everything is interconnected in your life. Like, you can't neglect a single thing.
Yeah, that's so true. And that I didn't mention, that was one of the key things at my real sort of rock bottom breaking point. Was one of the best things I did really early on was to connect with my friends and to make sure I had people in my corner, because it can kind of feel lonely, and even though there's not necessarily solutions, sometimes there's not really a particular solution for whatever the issue might be, but at least someone's listened and someone's understood and cared, even though they're there for you. That was one of the key things that I did early on in the really down times. There's probably three guys that I spent a lot of time with. The four of us spent a lot of time together. They're in their own businesses as well, so that's helpful. Just to understand how I'm wired, not to grow our businesses or anything else, but just to be supportive in a downtime was really good.
Definitely, man. Building that support system, and always like like if people need help, just always be available, like to be of service. We talk about our gifts, but just little things like in our own life. So we may need help with. Just be someone that people can look up to, And of course, like ask for help if you need it, but don't like, like don't just be a taker either. Don't just like keep on asking. Make sure it's kind of reciprocal in a sense.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's so in a roundabout way, helping other people is so rewarding for yourself, isn't it? It just gives you. It's so satisfying to be able to be there for somebody else as well. There's times where we need the support, and there's other times where we can support someone else, and supporting other people is so helpful for our own selves. So yeah.
Definitely, man. A topic I think would be worth discussing is like overcoming obstacles. Like, 'cause obviously we're going to be facing these in business, whatever it is. Like, as humans, we're going to overcome things, and I feel like it's almost a qualification process in a sense to help us become the person we're meant to be. Uh, how do you recommend we kind of traverse adverse circumstances in our own lives?
Sorry, I missed the sound broke up.
All good. I said, so the question was, how do you recommend we traverse adverse circumstances in our lives?
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a lot of different ways to tackle the adversity. I think someone once said, when you feel like you're hitting breakdown, you might be coming to the biggest breakthrough or something like that. And I play on words. I think just persevering and knowing that the seasons change. You're not going to be in the cold winter forever. The winter will pass. The spring will come. The vines will bloom. Things will become better if you just stick at it. You walk through challenging times, but you don't set up camp there. You keep moving. I think that's probably a key thing to, when there are down times, to not make that your identity. Because I mean, one thing when I was in the really rock bottom place, I mean, you get attention and so on, and validation and all these things, and people are, but you wouldn't never want to build your life around that identity. And I think people do, in a weird way. Sometimes people, it feels like they don't want change. They don't want transformation. They're kind of locked into a mediocre kind of existence. I don't want to sound judgmental in that either, but there was something I was aware of that I want to work, and it was kind of like why I wanted to have an end goal with the 6 sessions with the psychologist. I wanted to have an end goal. I wanted to achieve a breakthrough. I wanted to get through this. I didn't want to be there for the long term. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, just kind of like taking it step by step in a sense, right? Like asking empowering questions, taking action on those, and just taking the next step. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, just making these incremental improvements in our lives. In a sense, like that's how it's done anyways. It's always a journey,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to be good enough to get better. It's
Huh.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's making progress, and just not just getting discouraged by the failures and the setbacks, because of course they're going to happen, but just kind of understanding that it's part of the process and just keep on moving forward, man.
Yeah, that's it. I think if we're prepared to make mistakes are very rarely fatal. I think we have fears of things not, particularly in business. If you want to step out, there's probably people listening who are thinking about starting a business, and maybe they've thought about starting a business for a long time, but they never really took the plunge because they were fearful if it didn't work out. Whilst that might be true, because sometimes businesses don't work out, or anything in life, this is just one example. The failure is very rarely fatal. It's very rarely as bad as what someone might think, and it's normally always reversible as well. So, I mean, it might take time. You might quit your job and start your own business. If it doesn't work out, you can go back and get employment again. But at least you'll know and you've tried, and you might go back to employment and then try again later. But next time you try, you'll be better equipped because you would have learned some things in the journey that didn't work out, and you'll tackle it a different way. And that's part of life, and that's what keeps life exciting. If everything is success, well then how do we even measure success? Because it's just what it is. Because there's failure, the successes feel so far greater, and it's exciting. We live an exciting life, and it's for us to grasp hold of.
Absolutely. There's this saying that says, success is not final and failure is not fatal, right? So just kind of like understanding that, giving yourself permission to live the life that you actually want, taking risks, taking chances every single day, because I mean, what's the alternative? Like you said, like you don't want to be average at the end of the day. I mean, it's not really what you're here for. Like you have so much greatness within you, and all you have to do is activate it.
Yeah. Yeah, so having this conversation the other day with someone, we were talking about the balance of trying to achieve peace in our lives, but also excitement. And sometimes they feel like they're the polar opposites, but they're both really important. I think it's more of a balancing act to do things that are exciting. And excitement can be a little bit risky, and because you're putting yourself out there and it's vulnerable, and can be so rewarding, exhilarating, but also that's important in our lives, but also peace. So do the things that are less exciting and more slowed down and centered and relaxing. I think we're all wired slightly differently, so we'll probably, all of us, lean more to the excitement or more to the peace focus, and that's totally fine. For me, maybe it's historically been more about excitement. As I've aged, I've probably looked more at peace, and that might be a natural progression. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have both in our lives. Like taking massive action is of course important, but also understanding that needs to be followed by like rest and solitude and all these types of things, so we can kind of continue it, because it really is about balance in a sense, but like it can't always be balanced because there's maybe certain things you got to work on in your life. But understanding, like we talked about at the beginning, is coming back to a state of homeostasis in a sense, right?
Yeah. I heard someone say a balanced seesaw is no fun. Well, that's sort of true, but we do need balance, absolutely.
100%, man. I mean, we talked about so many cool things in this interview. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel like people are going to get a lot of value out of that, just because especially as like business owners, entrepreneurs, or just anybody really, just being able to understand, like having awareness of our story and our setbacks and how we can overcome them and help people, which is what you did. I feel like that's invaluable information because everyone has them, and just knowing how to traverse them is key. Of course, you got so many awesome business and marketing strategies to talk about. Is there anything you want to add, man?
No, it's been great. Thanks so much for having the conversation. It's always good to talk these things through. If anyone does want to connect, they can just jump on. The easiest way to find me is through our website, uplift360.com.au. And from there, you'll find my personal LinkedIn. And I accept everybody who wants to connect on the LinkedIn account. So, yeah, uplift360.com.au. And obviously, if people need our website or SEO and all that kind of stuff, happy to help as well. But yeah,
absolutely, man. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing our insights with us. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. Thanks, Anthony.
Awesome.